I am the strongest man on earth, and in 9 weeks, I'm gonna have to prove that again. One of those events is going to be a max trap bar deadlift. Today is week 1 of preparation. I'm gonna try to pull over 900 pounds off the ground without a belt on, and that's just the starting point. So stick around, some huge lifts coming up, and I'm gonna teach you how to lift big without hurting your back. I think somewhere around the 920 mark, I would be happy with. Just beltless on a move like this, it changes your strength a lot. So 920 without a belt, it's probably something like 1,000 with a belt. It does help tremendously. I'm trying a couple of tweaks on my technique for the trap bar. Now for deadlifts, if you tend to struggle off the floor, it's useful to bring your feet in, drive your knees forward, put a bit more pressure on your toes. Trap bar is dead weight off the ground. It's very hard to break the floor, and once you do, you're mostly okay. So today I'm gonna try closer stance, knees forward, torso a bit more upright, weight into the toes, and see if those cues help my body. Now, in the first handful of weeks training for any movement that you're not super attuned to, give yourself the freedom to try a whole bunch of different things, and I'll do that for the next 3-4 weeks until I actually feel what's best for me, and then I'll stick to that for the last 6 weeks of prep or so. I don't make it a secret that Giants live shows are more training. I don't really peek and prep into them. That technique is miles better than what I was doing before. So let's talk about the first thing that's important when it comes to back pain. That's gonna be your technique. Now, our body doesn't feel load, it feels forces. And your goal should be to spread the forces as evenly as possible about your low back. Now, what I mean by that is if I keep my hips really high and my shoulders are forward, the weight pulling through my shoulders and the distance from my hips to the ground is gonna be the force on my low back. So you can imagine, the more I sink my hips down and keep my shoulders on top of my hips, the closer they get together, so the less force my back is gonna feel. But there's a trade-off. You have to then push your knees forward, meaning that your distance from your knee to your hip increases and there's more load on your legs and your knees. So finding that balance is really, really important, making sure your back isn't overloaded. And if you feel your back taking the brunt of the force, try and sit your hips a little bit lower and get your shoulders back on top of your hips. All right, this is 220 kilos. Beautiful. It's just feeling today like there's a lot less force on my back, which for me makes sense with the technique, but it just doesn't feel as stressful. We'll see as we get up in weight, but it's feeling good so far. I'm really happy with how this is feeling. Really, really happy. Now, speaking of technique, whenever it's a deadlift variation that's harder off the ground, like a trap bar, we're gonna wanna bring our feet in, put some pressure through our toes, and sink our hips a little bit lower. Reason being, this creates a spring to explode off of the ground. You think the bottom of a squat, how you can bounce out of the hole, and the difficult part is much higher up in the movement compared to a traditional deadlift, where we tend to struggle in around here and lower. Well, if we can shift that movement strength curve and we can make it so that our strongest point is off the floor, it then matches the challenge of something like the trap bar. So closer stance, feet pointed forward, weight in the toes is generally gonna help you out. As always, my session is fueled by Mutant Madness pre-workout. They sent me this gym flag. You're gonna see in the background of some of the videos, but if you wanna support people who support Strongman, go ahead, click the link below. There's some really exciting news that I can't announce yet about how they're getting involved in a bigger way in Strongman as a whole. So stay tuned for that, but know that they support the people who you're supporting, and them supporting that grows the sport and helps people like you directly. So go ahead, check the link down in the description. This video is brought to you by Mutant pre-workout. Let's take some and let's keep building. So when it comes to deadlift technique, one of the most important things is engaging your lats. Now, people often get this wrong. It's not about pulling the bar into you, it's about pulling your shoulder down into your hip. That lat engagement is gonna help your core tremendously, which we're gonna talk about in a second. But you know you're doing this well and you know your bar path is right if you bump the bar against your shins from time to time. Now, they don't have to look like mine, but the closer you get the bar to your body, the more mechanically advantaged you're gonna be. If the bar tends to swing away from you, it's gonna be because your shoulders are too far forward. You are never gonna be strong enough to overcome the feeling of a heavy load swinging away. Your lats are never gonna pull it back into you. So your problem is that your shoulders are too far forward. Traditionally speaking, this is because your hips have risen. If you think biomechanically, my hips low, my shoulders are on top of my hands, the bar. But if I raise my hips, you see I tilt forward, meaning that as soon as I start to lift, that bar is gonna drift away to be back under my arm, and now I have that space. And that space is always gonna be a limiting factor and always gonna lead to injury risk for the low back. Whether you wanna be more efficient or lift more weight, that's gonna be a major check mark to make sure you're hitting. 320. 320 kilos. I gotta get used to pounds. Just kilos are so much easier. Sorry, because I know everyone on the stream is probably North American, but I don't know how y'all operate in pounds constantly. I don't know how it, but all right. 110, 220, 330, 445, 50, 660, plus 45. So 705. Ooh, dizzy. That was good though. Yeah, that's fine. That one actually felt as good as the last one. Should be good to go. Now let's talk about bracing. This is not an easy thing to get right, but I've broken this down in a full guide down linked in the description. But the principle is creating as much pressure in your stomach as possible. Core training to brace properly is very different to core training for abs or for aesthetic reasons. Your goal is actually to push everything out as hard as you can. There are two ways to breathe. You either breathe with your intercostal muscles, which are muscles between your ribs, and they elevate your ribs, or you breathe with your diaphragm, and your diaphragm expands down. Either way, your lungs are a passive tissue. You either just move out with your chest wall or move down with your diaphragm. If you can move it down with your diaphragm, you create this extra, this reduced, if you can breathe with your diaphragm, you create a reduced area amongst your organs. That then creates this belly all the way around. After you have that belly, you then have to push out. It's especially useful if you have a belt, which I don't have today for training purposes, but if you have a belt and you push into it, it creates this incredible stability between your pelvis and your rib cage that should make sure you translate force from the ground up through your upper body as efficiently as possible, but also that your technique doesn't change whatsoever. You continue to load directly up and down on your spine, which I'll talk about in a second, and you're able to lift as safely as possible. Woo! That's massive. That's huge. I'm extremely happy with that. Beltless is not something I've done in a little while. That's as good as I could ask for from that height. We're looking at 925, no belt for a double. From this height, throw a belt on, high 900s, maybe 1,000-ish for a double. For a single, competition, energy, peaking, we'll see. We got Pendlay rows, lat pull downs, hammer curls, and some core training. Core training, I'm gonna show you how to train your core to get this movement stronger and keep your low back safe. Stay tuned for that. Yeah, I have a back offset right now. I've got 2 of them. Technically, I'm supposed to just do 3 sets of the same weight at a relatively lower effort. It's not the right thing to do, but I like to push a little bit hard, then back off afterwards, just so I can continuously work hard. Sometimes, even at the top level, I love lifting heavy weight. That's what I like to do. I don't like following a program. I don't like doing things particular. I want to come in, how heavy can I lift? That's it. And so it's a difficult balance between what you want to do, what's good for your head, and what's good for your body, what's good for competition. So I try to marry the two as best I can. Thankfully, I do rely on my education and my knowledge to go, this is an okay feeling, this is not an okay feeling. But all being truthful, I work too hard in the gym based on what I should be doing. And maybe that'll change one day, but I just like the feeling of resisting heavy load and overcoming heavy load. That's why I got into this in the first place, not so that I could do an RP7 anything. No, I just don't want to. I just have this thing in my head that's like, it's not right. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like a neural thing where it's just like, you just did something hard, that's enough. And it seems to hit me particularly hard on trap bar, which is a good lesson. A couple of lessons. One lesson, in comp, I have to do less jumps than I would probably want to do, jump a little bit more at once. And number two, if I go to do that and it's 110 pounds off of what I just did and it's not moving at all, could I grind out a couple of reps? Yes. Is it the smart thing to do? Absolutely not. So that's gonna be it there for today. I'm onto a lot of other posterior chain exercise. I'll increase the volume of other posterior chain exercise to make up for missing out on the 2 sets here. But that is my sign. That's enough trap bar deadlifts for today. We're gonna move on to Pendlay rows, and let's talk about how they will help build your deadlift. For strongest man on earth, the trap bar that we're lifting is unknown. And we're probably gonna find out when everyone else does. It's being built, it's a custom bit of equipment. If we think of the things that Rogue has built in the past, from the Rogue coaster to the Wheel of Pain, and what Brian's done in the past with the car leg press and with the barrel chest press, I imagine those people coming together will create something very strange. So I'm choosing to do Pendlay rows on a normal bar rather than a trap bar, or rather than a cable row of some sorts or a chest supported row, because this is replicating the position of a deadlift. I need to strengthen my hamstrings, my glutes, my spinal erectors, my core, and get everything prepared for breaking the deadlift world record in 12 weeks time. In doing this and adopting that position, it's gonna keep me familiar with what it's like to engage my lats when I need to pull a bar off the ground, and staying in touch in ways that aren't maxing out, aren't causing my body a lot of stress, but will translate to the deadlift. That is absolutely key in order to blow things up. So for yourselves, if you can, find these different positions that will load exactly what you want them to, but keeps the weight down relatively, focusing on a particular area of the body, that's gonna be massive. For me, my keys right now are Pendlay rows and loaded back extensions. That way, load stays light, muscles are still working hard, and we can translate that over into big, heavy pulls in a handful of weeks' time. One thing you'll notice when I'm doing rows like this, I don't put clips on, and that's intentional. You'll see this right side is sliding off a bit, meaning that my right side wasn't keeping up to my left. But you don't put clips on. One, you'll see it, and two, as you're going, they're sliding off. So your right side now has to work disproportionately hard. It's almost a self-solving mechanism by doing this. Only do it in safe movements. Don't do it on squats or overhead pressing, but on something like this, do it, teach yourself a lesson, and get stronger where you need to get strong. All right, we're on to lat pull down. We just trained lats a whole bunch, indirectly with the trap bar and directly with the Pendlay rows. So I'm gonna go close grip supinated. There's two reasons that you get restricted when you go overhead. One is gonna be pec tightness, the other is lat tightness. So if I can strengthen and stretch my lats at the same time, it's going to be useful. You're gonna do that more when you supinate, and you're gonna do it more if you go close. So I'm gonna go close grip supinated, really stretch out the shoulder and focus as much on the stretch as I do with the contraction. That way, I'm twofold winning. One, lats are growing and getting stronger. Two, I'm able to get more comfortable overhead positions. Okay, over to train core now. And the goal when you train core for compound lifts like squats and deadlifts is about core stiffness, not core movement. So let's talk about how to do that. My number one is always going to be ab wheel rollouts. It keeps the core stiff, makes it really hard as you stretch out. But some people don't have those. Here's something you can do at home if you have no equipment at all. Now, we all know planks, and the world record for plank is something like 24 hours. Not the best strength exercise if we're training to do something for hours at a time, or even for minutes at a time. A 1 rep max is gonna take you anywhere from 3 to 6 seconds. So we're gonna maximally contract for 6 seconds, and that's going to be one entire set. You're gonna do it as hard as you can, and you're gonna think about squeezing your elbows and your toes together as hard as possible and breathe all the air out of your lungs while you do that. So it doesn't look like much, but this is what you're gonna do. One set done. I do between 5 and 10 sets of those. That's gonna build my core stiffness in a way that translates over to my heavy lifting. Give that a try, stick to it every single day for a handful of weeks and see how it goes. Simple as that. Use that to train your core, and maybe you'll have your deadlift blow up like I did. We are 10 weeks out from strongest man on earth, 13 weeks out from World Deadlift Championships, while I aim to break the deadlift world record. Fingers crossed. Subscribe to the channel, follow that journey along. As always, lift heavy, be kind, and we'll catch you tomorrow.